Hey guys, it's Ducon Red 1 and welcome to episode 12 of Chateau de Lumière. We are going to be doing the surrounding planning today and some extra things at the end just to give the video a little bit more content. So I hope you enjoy this video and I hope that you learned something. Okay, so starting out, we're going to be using orange wool to represent the roads, and this is going to set the sketch for the rest of the planning. You want the roads first, otherwise you're going to find that everything that you have built is going to be really condensed. So this is the tricky part right here, going underneath those two bridges. You'll see that later on in the video to see kind of what I did there, but it really adds in a neat feature to the plot and a neat little bit of immersion and atmosphere, so definitely keep that in mind. So when you're building the roads, you want to keep them relatively windy, but you also want to keep them straight in a sense. You don't want sudden bends all over the place. The reason why, nobody wants to drive a cart down a road that goes left, right, left, right, left, right constantly, so definitely keep that in mind. Realistically, you want to make sure your roads have bends, but not too many. So that's just something that you should keep in mind. So we're going to be working on this side. We make it so that it goes across the ford there. I am thinking we possibly will add a bridge across the creek at some point, but we'll figure that out. So right here is the economic center of Lumiere. I really thought that there should be something over here more than just open land and everything. So I decided to build a tavern, a butcher, a bakery, a granary, and there's one other building that I'm not quite sure of yet, but I'll figure that out as time goes by. Right here is a fairgrounds, and that's going to be something that's going to hold an event. I want to, at the time that Lumiere is built, I want to make sure that seems like there's an event going on. All the yellow represents fields, and then that's a little farmer's house in that purple, and then a chandler, which makes candles. So basically a candle maker with an apiary behind. Apiary is a bee farm. A little tourney ground right there. Again, we'll get closer with that or get more acquainted with that later in the video. And then on this side, we add something of a little farming village. That was going to be a windmill of a design that I've already done, but I end up moving the windmill across the plot, and then here I put a mule-powered mill. That was an idea from Uminum, but anyways, on this side I add a pig farmer, another farmer, and then again more fields and such, and we'll be spicing that up a little bit. And then I mask in all the roads to give it just a little bit more depth and definition, and then Uminum gives me a bunch of ideas of how I can improve this layout. So don't be afraid to take advice from your fellow peers, because they have some really great ideas. So Uminum suggested that I redirect the road through these fields, going up and over, and then having it come down and more or less T, and I decided to put a fishing hut there instead. And now I'm using that lime green wool to represent light forests, like spindly trees, bushes, and things like that. And then over here, now we're going to be putting in that mule-powered mill, and it's obviously going to really fit in the terrain later on and everything, so we will definitely work that out. But the idea is that it's going to really, set the new style of playing. It's really going to set the blocking, the eye blockers. That's really going to add to the immersion, because before I felt like, yes, there were still eye blockers, but it just felt like there wasn't going to be enough. And so by doing this sort of planning, using the light green as light forest and the dark green as heavy forest, it really does add in the atmosphere and makes it seem a little bit more fluffy and a little bit more full. So we take a field away, we put in a forest. Over here we put a little bit of a light forest and a heavy forest next to that. The heavy forest, you can imagine taller trees and such things like that, just to make it seem a little bit more interesting. And then what I use is I cobble in the bases. I cobble in the purple wool to represent the buildings and structures more intricately. And then right here, we're doing the tourney grounds, and I just go ahead and fill that all in. I want the one end to feel a little bit artificial, so obviously I make it seem a little bit more man-made, and then I made it so that the stream is redirected around the edge of the tourney grounds. So at this point, I decide I want to spice the video up a little bit more and add some actual building. So we go ahead and start building the causeway that leads from Chateau de Lumière down to the village below. And I make a diagonal wooden bridge going across, and we make sure that it seems well supported. And then we use snow layers and half slabs and different sorts of blocks using the fish scale cobble and things like that to make it so that the transition from top to bottom is rather smooth. So the road will come down and then around. As you can see, we built another little wooden bridge there across the stream. And then we use things like dark cobblestone and other mossy stones and such to represent that the border of the road there, on the outside edge. And then we start to, just the idea of just working on the roads, working them out, making it seem a little bit more interesting. We make another diagonal bridge there because the very immersive and interesting part about that section is that the road goes underneath the two other bridges, the actual bridge going to Lumiere and the wooden bridge. I really like that idea. And so we finish off filling in that lake there. And then I feel like that this up here needed some more meat to it. Well, Uminum suggested that I build something of like a little bastion up here or something. And that's what I do. We go ahead and continue on those fortifications. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's build a tree. So that's what we do. I go ahead and build something of a tree here. And then I feel like, this needs to be raised up just a tad bit. So I'm going to end up raising up the end here because I feel like it just seemed a little bit low. I felt like there needed to be a little bit more balance to the build. So as you can see, we just moved it up and now it seems a little bit higher and a little bit better than what it did before. And what we again do, like on the leaves of the trees around the creek, is you want to make sure that they're fluffy. You want to put them only on the ends of the fence pieces. That's how you're going to get a proper tree. You want to be able to look up at the tree and see lots of air spaces and things like that. And then we add little bits of hanging like vines and stuff from it, just very subtle hanging vines. And then we put some stuff like ferns and stuff on the top of the tree. So overall, I really like how that turned out. It really adds in a bold section of the plot right there. Like, it really sets in the idea that there is something going on up here. And the tree, like from all angles, you'll see later on, just really has a great overall look to it, and it really balances the build out. So yeah, let's go ahead and see that now. Oh yeah, look at that shader, guys. I'm using Cocopic version 6 Ultra. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this shader. It just makes it seem so atmospheric on this plot. In fact, I would say that this is probably the best shader for this plot because being Chateau de Lumière, Castle of Light, it seems like this just fits so well. I love this, but it's kind of hard to see at some points, but we'll try to make it clear. So anyways, this is Chateau de Lumière at its current state, and I'm really liking how it's looking right now. As you can see, the bridge is crossing and everything. I did a little bit of off-camera work, like this right here. I made this more like marshlands right here going down this stream, because the thing is if this wasn't a trickle right here, this lake would be, or this pond right here would be one block lower, because it would just all sort of funnel out. So you want to represent that it's somewhat marshy on its way from the water out, because if it's just a solid stream, all of this would just be like flowing out like nothing else. So you just definitely want to represent that it's something like a very slow trickle going out. So I really like what we did here. Before it was flat, like it was pretty much level with the road itself. But what I did is I lifted it up a little bit and I made it just a little bit more depth right there. I like how that turned out. Underneath it's just some gravel and things like that. Really like how that looks. And then as you can see, the street material, we have the muddy cobblestone, the normal, some dirt and such like that. And then right here we have a little drain. So all of the water that would be drained from this section of the castle would fall into this little sort of canyon crevice right here. And then it would all go down through here, across, and into the stream. So you wanted to represent flood paths like that, or yeah, water paths, like where all the drainage would go. You want to sort of represent that and keep that in mind when you're building. For sure, that's a very important thing to keep in mind. So this diagonal bridge here was a little bit odd. Like, I started out making it like, you know, a very straight angle, but I really like how that turned out. Like, it's a 3x2. It's like a 3 angle and then a 2 angle, which actually really works out. Like, it just seems like it really lines up with the road, like going straight across. I really like that. And then you come across here, you go underneath the first bridge, and then you go underneath the second bridge. Oh, I just love the atmosphere of this. It just looks so nice. I might even cliff this a little bit more, maybe add something there to make it so that invaders can't just go down this little canyon. But at the same time, there's lots of murder holes up here to defend this area, so we might keep that in mind. So, like I said, Umnum gave me a lot of ideas. He gave me the ideas for this platform, and then I was like, you know what, a tree on the end. Just look at that, guys. And it just looks so much better now. Like, it doesn't look so flat and boring on this side. Like, when you just looked at this side, like, it just looked flat and boring. But now with that tree, not only does the tree really help this whole side, it also adds an eye blocker. Like, very subtle. Like, you can still see underneath the tree now, but it brings the eye to the tree on your way out, you know? Instead of just like looking out at the vast flatness of the surrounding area. Same thing with right here. It focuses the eye on a single point, and then you go left and you go into Chateau de Lumière. That's the idea with that, is it focuses the eye. Now, another thing that I really want you guys to keep in mind is when you're walking down your plot, you want there to be eye blockers. Like the tourney grounds is going to block our eye from going that way. You have a little forest here that's going to block our eye. You're going to keep going down this way. You have a forest right there represented in green that's going to block your eye. The windmill is going to block your eye. It's going to block the view all the way around, which is important. But then again, you also are going to have some places where it's going to go straight off the plot. For example, right here is going to be a sweetgrass field. I'm pretty sure it's sweetgrass. Yeah, sweetgrass field right here. And you're definitely going to be able to see over that. But it's not going to be like you know, crazy scene over. Obviously, it's going to keep you inside the plot because sweetgrass will make sure that it's tall, maybe a few extra plants in there, things like that, and it will still keep you on the plot. Same thing with that little forest there, little eye blockers, and like, you know, little bits of atmosphere. So we'll have a little light forest here, a little light forest right there, like just bushes and things. And of course, around the base of the cliffs and everything, we're going to add in some things like, I'm not sure. We'll figure it out when the time comes. But there's going to be lots of foliage and greenery and things like that all the way along the bottom here. So we'll definitely do something like that. This is going to be a chandelier. This is where candles will be made. And then an apiary back here. See, the original version of candles was actually made by tallow, meaning fat from, say, a pig. Pigs most you know, were the most popular form of candle or tallow is pig fat, because they didn't know what to do with it. Lots of pigs were killed and eaten, so they would use that to make candles, and it stunk and it wasn't as clean of a light. Whereas beeswax, it does not stink when it burns, and it's also a whiter, purer light, and it's much brighter. So for Chateau de Lumière, it seems like a fairly rich castle. It seems like they actually have quite a bit of wealth, and so they would have beeswax candles because it just seems a little bit more stylish for the style that we're going for. Down here we have a little fisher's shack, so the fisher would probably be right there. We might make it seem more significant, like maybe some you know, fish drying racks along the river, stuff like that. We'll make sure that it looks pretty good. And then we have a little farmhouse right here, because obviously these farms need some tending to. So we'll definitely figure that out, and I think that'll look pretty nice. So again, the roads are pretty straight, not extremely windy, and it goes here to the fairgrounds. So the idea is this is like, say, early summer or something like that. That the time period that this is set. And there's an event going on, say a marriage celebration. I think that seems like the most logical celebration to have. And then at that time, the tourney grounds are going to be in full swing. So we're going to make sure that it's all decorated and all kinds of crazy stuff over there. And then I'm also thinking about putting tents for knights and like traveling warriors and stuff like that that would attend the tourney. So yeah, for sure that'll look pretty cool. And it also is pretty realistically set. Like this would get the sunrise sun. Like the sunrise would come from over there. And it just seems like a really good place. And it's like a really good view. Like once we get this whole area set up, oh my goodness, it's gonna look beautiful. The only thing that's gonna be kind of a drawback is the horse manure would be thrown off the side right here. So we might have to figure out something to work that in, but I'm not really worried about that right now. I think that'll look pretty good. And we got lots of fields. You got potatoes and wheat, and you also want to make sure there's open fields, but we'll get into that next episode, or in future episodes. We'll be sure to talk about that. Little farmer's house right here. This is all going to be forest, and then on the corner here, I want there to be an old redoubt. A redoubt is like an old fort, like something that's sort of like an outpost, and it's going to be something just like ruins here on the corner. It's all going to be overgrown and everything, and maybe we'll put some kind of detail over here, like maybe a hunter's camp or something like that. Maybe even bandits. Who knows? We'll figure it out when that time comes. And we have a pig farmer over here. And just across the road here is the actual pigsty. And he would work hand in hand with the butcher in town, or in the village down there, which we'll get to soon. And then we have a windmill operator. Well, actually, this is going to change because the windmill is no longer here. So this would be the mule mill operator. And then this would be a barn to store all of the food and resources that are collected. And then that's what would be used by, say, anyone around here, is they would come to this barn and borrow, because pretty much everyone's a community here. Like, you know, no one owns their own stuff pretty much. Everyone just sort of works together. And that's the idea, is like there's only one barn and then everyone uses that one barn. Now over here in the village section, as you can see, you cross the stream, and then you have a butcher here to the left with maybe a chicken coop back here, and then maybe this is going to be a tavern right here where everyone's going to socialize, a granary, this is what I've decided to be a fisher's house most likely, because there is like fisher stuff down here, so we'll figure that out. And then also there's going to be a bakery right here, which you can't read the sign because of the shaders. So, but yeah. That's about that, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from it. It was very, very, very fun to make. And next episode, we are going to be working on the bastion right here. We're going to be working on maybe the exterior and interior, because it seems like a fairly small building, and I think we can fit it all into a fairly short episode. So anyways, I hope to see you guys back for that. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I also have a Facebook and a Twitter you can follow me on and keep up to date with the goings-on of Ducon Red 1. I also have a Twitch where I live stream and build things like this, so for sure, go on over there and check me out. And I have a Patreon where you can support me monetarily. All those links are in the description below. Until the next one, guys. I'm in spectator mode. Bye-bye.